Commander Zeth Ka clicked his mandibles in satisfaction as he watched the cargo bay doors seal shut. The operation had gone exactly as planned. 3 human juveniles now sat in containment cells aboard his vessel, the Crimson Talon. They would serve as excellent bargaining chips in the upcoming negotiations with the human colony on Kepler 442b. The Vorthan Empire had been expanding across this sector for over 2 centuries, and these upstart humans had appeared seemingly overnight. Their single-colony world produced remarkable agricultural yields that the Empire needed. Rather than engage in costly warfare, Zeth Ka had decided on a more elegant solution. Take their young, demand submission, and add another world to the Empire's vast holdings. "Commander!" His communications officer, Yith Na, turned from her station. "The human colony is attempting to establish contact. They appear agitated." Zeth Ka's 4 eyes glowed with amusement. "I imagine they are. Display their transmission." The main screen flickered to life, showing the face of a human female. Governor Sarah Chen, if Zeth Ka's intelligence was correct. Her features were tight with barely controlled emotion, and her dark eyes blazed with something the Vorthan commander couldn't quite identify. "This is Governor Chen of New Eden Colony," the human began, her voice steady despite the obvious tension. "You have taken our children. We demand their immediate return." "Governor Chen," Zeth Ka replied, settling back into his command chair. His translator rendered his clicking speech into the crude human language. "Your demand is noted, but irrelevant. The juveniles are safe and will remain so, provided your colony agrees to our terms." The human's jaw tightened. "What terms?" "Unconditional surrender of your colony to the Vorthan Empire. You have 24 of your local hours to comply. Refuse, and the juveniles will be relocated to work camps in the Outer Rim. They will live, but you will never see them again." Governor Chen was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice carried a strange quality that made Zeth Ka's skin prickle. "Commander, I need you to understand something. You have made a mistake. A terrible, terrible mistake." "The only mistake," Zeth Ka clicked dismissively, "would be refusing our generous offer. Your people are new to this galaxy. You lack the infrastructure for war, the alliances for support. You have no fleet capable of challenging us. Submit now, and your colony will prosper under Imperial protection." "You don't understand," Chen said quietly. "Those children you took, they're not just any children. Tommy Harrison is the son of Admiral Marcus Harrison, former commander of the Earth Defense Fleet. Lisa Wong is the daughter of Colonel Jane Wong, who led the Mars Liberation Campaign. And Emma Kowalski? Her father is Captain Victor Kowalski, the man who held the Titan station for 6 months against impossible odds." Zeth Ka's mandibles twitched with annoyance. "Human military ranks mean nothing here. Your Earth is thousands of light years away, far beyond any hope of rescue." "That's where you're wrong," Chen replied. "You see, when humans decided to spread among the stars, we didn't just send farmers and scientists. We sent our warriors too. Every colony has its guardians, its protectors, people who understand that nothing, absolutely nothing, is more important than protecting our young." The transmission ended abruptly. Zeth Ka stared at the blank screen for a moment before dismissing the human's words. Fear tactics, nothing more. His intelligence reports were thorough. The human colony possessed minimal defensive capabilities, a few outdated patrol craft, no heavy weapons platforms, certainly nothing that could threaten a Vorthan battlecruiser. "Sir," his tactical officer, Rex II, called out from his station, "I'm detecting multiple ships launching from the colony surface. 23 vessels in total." "Their entire fleet," Zeth Ka mused. "How predictable. Have they opened fire yet?" "No, sir. They're maintaining formation at the edge of weapons range. It appears to be a defensive position around the colony." Zethkar's confidence remained unshaken. 23 small ships against his battle cruiser? The humans were either suicidal or delusional. Maintain our position. Let them waste fuel holding their formation. When they realize the futility of their gesture, they'll surrender. Hours passed. The human ships held their position with military precision, but made no aggressive moves. Zethkar used the time to tour his ship, inspect the containment cells, and review his conquest plans for the human colony. The 3 young humans, 2 males and 1 female, all appearing to be between 10 and 12 standard years, sat quietly in their transparent aluminum cells. They seemed remarkably calm for captives. The largest of the 3, the Harrison boy, looked up when Zethkar approached. "You're the alien who took us," he said, matter-of-factly. "I am Commander Zethkar of the Vorthon Empire," the alien replied, studying the small human with interest. "You show remarkable composure for a captive." "My dad always said that getting scared doesn't help anything," Tommy replied. "He taught me that in dangerous situations, you stay calm and think." "Wise advice. Unfortunately for you, there is nothing to think about. Your people cannot challenge us." The Wong girl spoke up from the adjacent cell. "That's what you think, but you made a big mistake taking us." "Oh, and what mistake is that?" Emma Kowalski answered from the 3rd cell, her voice carrying the same strange quality Zethkar had heard from Governor Chen. "You hurt kids, human kids. There's only one thing humans care about more than anything else, and that's protecting children. You just painted a target on yourself." Zethkar's translator struggled with some of the human idioms, but the meaning was clear enough. More threats and bluster. "Your family's military backgrounds do not change the tactical reality. Your colony is outgunned and outnumbered." "Maybe," Tommy said. "But you don't know humans very well, do you?" Before Zethkar could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. He rushed back to the bridge, where chaos had erupted among his crew. "Report!" he demanded. "Commander," Yithnah's voice was tight with disbelief. "We're detecting massive gravitic distortions in the outer system. Something is coming through hyperspace. Multiple contacts." "How many contacts?" I'm not certain, sir. The readings are unlike anything I've seen before." "Wait." She paused, working frantically at her instruments. "Sir, I count at least 40 ships. No, 60. The number keeps climbing." Zethkar felt his confidence waver for the first time. 60 ships. That was impossible. His intelligence reports had been thorough. The humans had no significant fleet presence in this sector. "Ship classifications?" he demanded. "Unknown designs, sir. But the energy signatures? These aren't patrol craft. These are warships. Heavy warships." The main screen activated automatically as the approaching fleet transmitted a general signal. A human face appeared. Male, middle-aged, with graying hair and eyes like chips of ice. The insignia on his uniform was unfamiliar to Zethkar, but the man's bearing screamed military command. "This is Admiral Marcus Harrison of the Human Emergency Response Fleet," the man said, his voice carrying the same deadly calm that Governor Chen had displayed. "You are holding my son and 2 other children. You have exactly 30 seconds to release them unharmed, or I will demonstrate why capturing human children is considered an act of war by the Terran Federation." Zethkar's blood ran cold. Terran Federation? His intelligence had indicated these colonists were independent settlers, not backed by any major power. And this Admiral Harrison, the boy had mentioned his father, but Zethkar had assumed it was merely a colonial militia rank. "Admiral," Zethkar managed, his usual confidence cracking, "you appear to be misinformed about the situation. These juveniles are in my custody as part of legitimate negotiations." 15 seconds, Harrison interrupted. On his tactical display, Zethkar watched in growing horror as more and more ships dropped out of hyperspace. The count had reached 90 vessels and was still climbing. Worse yet, his sensors were finally getting clear readings on some of the ship classes. Battleships, assault carriers, ships that could reduce his cruiser to scrap metal in minutes. "Sir," Rex 2 whispered urgently, "we're completely surrounded. They've deployed in a perfect sphere formation around our position. I count 112 ships now. This isn't just a fleet. This is an armada." "How is this possible?" Zethka demanded. "Where did they come from?" Yithna looked up from her communications array, her face pale with fear. "Sir, I'm intercepting transmissions between the human ships. They're not all from the same fleet. I'm identifying vessels from at least 12 different human naval organizations. The Emergency Response Fleet, the Colonial Defense Corps, the Independent Traders Alliance, something called the Mars Liberation Navy, the Titan Defense Force." "Time's up," Admiral Harrison announced. Zethka watched his tactical display with growing terror as weapon systems across the human fleet came online. Energy signatures that dwarfed anything in his experience blazed to life. Point defense systems, missile batteries, and beam weapons that could crack a planet's crust, all trained on his single ship. "Wait!" Zethka cried out. "I'm prepared to negotiate." "Negotiation ended when you took our children," a new voice cut in. This time the screen split to show multiple human commanders. "This is Colonel Jane Wong of the Martian Expeditionary Force. That's my daughter you're holding." Another face appeared. "Captain Victor Kowalski, Titan Defense Squadron. You made a critical error, alien." And another. "General Sarah Chen, New Eden Colonial Guard and proud aunt of one of those children." More faces joined the transmission. Admiral Harrison continued speaking, but now Zethka understood that the man wasn't just speaking for himself or even his own fleet. "You see, Commander Zethka," Harrison said, "when humans began spreading across the stars, we made a promise. Every human child, no matter how far from Earth, would be protected. Every colony would be defended. Every threat to our young would be met with the full force of human resolve." "But this is impossible," Zethka protested weakly. "The distances involved, the coordination required." "You're thinking like a Vortan," another voice added. This one belonged to a woman with the bearing of a fleet admiral. "I'm Admiral Rebecca Santos, Terran Deep Space Command. We've been monitoring Vorthan expansion in this sector for months. When you made your move against New Eden, every human naval unit within 50 light-years received the alert. What you're seeing here is what humans call an emergency response deployment." Zethka's mandibles clicked frantically as he tried to process this information. "An emergency response for one colonial world?" "An emergency response," Admiral Harrison corrected, "for our children. You want to know what makes humans truly dangerous in this galaxy? It's not our technology, though we've improved considerably since leaving Earth. It's not our tactics, though we've learned much from our wars. It's this. Every human adult will sacrifice everything, their ships, their lives, their entire civilization if necessary, to protect human children." The tactical display showed the human fleet tightening its formation. 112 ships against his single cruiser. The odds were so overwhelming that Zethka's computers couldn't even calculate meaningful battle projections. "Your move, Commander," Admiral Harrison said quietly. "Release our children now, and we might let you live long enough to carry a message back to your empire." Commander Zethka's hands trembled as he stared at the tactical display. 112 human warships surrounded his vessel in a perfect sphere, their weapons trained on his position. The sheer impossibility of what he was witnessing made his mind reel. How had an entire armada materialized from nowhere? "Sir," Communications Officer Yithna called out, her voice cracking with stress, "I'm receiving transmissions from across the galaxy. Human colonies, trade stations, military installations. They're all responding to something called Code Amber protocols." "What are Code Amber protocols?" Zethka demanded. Before anyone could answer, Admiral Harrison's voice filled the bridge again. Code Amber, Commander, is what we call when human children are threatened by hostile aliens. It means every human vessel capable of faster-than-light travel drops whatever it's doing and responds to the threat. No exceptions. Zethkov felt his confidence crumbling completely. This is madness. You cannot mobilize an entire species for 3 juveniles. Watch us, Colonel Wong replied coldly. Yithna, was it? Your communications officer? She's about to get very busy. Every human settlement within 200 light years just received notification of your actions. They're mobilizing now. As if summoned by her words, Yithna looked up in shock. Sir, I'm detecting hyperspace signatures throughout the system. More ships are arriving. The tactical display exploded with new contacts. Ships of every size and configuration dropped out of hyperspace in seemingly impossible numbers. Massive dreadnoughts bristling with weapons, fast attack cruisers, support vessels, even converted cargo ships mounting improvised weapon systems. 150 ships, Rex 2 reported in disbelief. 200, 250, sir, they're still coming. This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the Independent Mining Consortium, a new voice announced. We heard you took human kids. The entire consortium fleet is en route. Another transmission. Freighter Captain Jim Morrison here. Myself and 47 other cargo haulers have armed up and joined the response fleet. Nobody messes with human children. And another. This is Commander Sarah Kim of the scientific research vessel Discovery. Even our science ships are armed, alien. We're here too. Zethka watched the numbers climb past 300 ships and felt his sanity slipping. This cannot be happening. No species organizes like this. It's impossible. You're still thinking like a Vorthan, Admiral Santos observed. You organize through hierarchy and fear. Humans organize through something you apparently don't understand. Love. Those 3 children in your cells, every human adult in this galaxy would die to protect them. But the distances, Zethka protested. The logistics. Some of these ships must have traveled for days to get here. Actually, Admiral Harrison said, checking something off-screen, the fastest response time was 18 hours. Captain Rodriguez of the Fast Attack Squadron managed to reach us from the Centauri system in record time. Impressive, considering she pushed her engines far beyond safe parameters. A new face appeared on the split screen, a woman with burn scars along one side of her face. Captain Sofia Rodriguez reporting, Admiral. My entire squadron is ready for combat operations. Just give us the word. How many ships? Zethka whispered, afraid to hear the answer. Currently, 347 vessels, Rex 2 replied mechanically. But, sir, the hyperspace signatures indicate more are still incoming. Let me explain something to you, Commander, Admiral Harrison said, his voice taking on an educational tone that somehow made it even more terrifying. When humans left Earth, we faced a harsh reality. We were spreading across vast distances, establishing isolated colonies that couldn't rely on immediate support from home. So we developed certain protocols. Code Amber is just one of them, Colonel Wong continued. It's specifically designed for threats against our children. Every human vessel, military or civilian, has predetermined response routes. Supply caches positioned throughout human space, emergency fuel and ammunition stockpiles. We've spent 50 years building a network that can respond to threats like this. Captain Kowalski's scarred face filled part of the screen. You made a tactical error, alien. You assumed that because New Eden was an isolated colony, it was defenseless. But no human settlement is truly isolated. We're all connected by bonds stronger than your empire's fear-based hierarchy. Zethka felt a chill run through his exoskeleton. You're saying this entire response was planned? Not planned, Admiral Santos corrected. Prepared. There's a difference. We didn't know when or where someone might threaten our children, but we knew it would happen eventually. Hostile aliens like yourselves seem to think that taking hostages is acceptable behavior. How many times has this happened before? Zethka asked weakly. The human commanders exchanged glances. Admiral Harrison answered. You're the 8th hostile species to make this particular mistake. The Kredik Empire tried it 40 years ago. They took 12 human children from an outer colony, thinking they could force our submission. What happened to them? The Kredik Empire no longer exists, Harrison said simply. Their homeworld is now a human quarantine zone. The survivors were relocated to a reservation system under human supervision. Zethka's 4 eyes widened in horror. You committed genocide? No, Colonel Wong replied sharply. We dismantled their military capability and removed their government. The Kredik people still exist, but they're no longer capable of threatening anyone. It took 6 months and cost us 37 ships. We learned from that experience. The Thrakari hegemony tried it next, Captain Kowalski added. Took 3 human children to force mining concessions. That campaign lasted 2 weeks and cost us 8 ships. Each time, Admiral Santos continued, we've become more efficient, more prepared, better organized. You, Commander Zethka, represent the 8th iteration of this scenario. Our response time has improved dramatically. 400 ships, Rex 2 reported quietly. 430. Sir, I'm reading weapons signatures that shouldn't be possible. Some of these human vessels are carrying antimatter torpedoes. Where did you get antimatter weapons? Zethka demanded. We make them, Admiral Harrison replied matter-of-factly. Every major human settlement has the industrial capacity to produce military-grade antimatter. It's another part of our defensive preparation. This is insane, Zethka muttered. No species militarizes to this extent. No species that you know of, Captain Rodriguez corrected. But then, no species that you know of evolved on a world like Earth. Tell me, Commander, what was your home world like? Vorth Prime is a civilized world. Temperate climate, abundant resources, few natural predators. Exactly, Admiral Santos interrupted. Earth, on the other hand, spent 4 billion years trying to kill everything that lived on it. Ice ages, volcanic eruptions, asteroid impacts, predators that make your worst nightmares look like pets. Everything that survived on Earth had to be tough, adaptable, and protective of its young. Those traits don't just disappear when we leave the planet. 500 ships, Rex 2 announced. Sir, some of these vessels are larger than our dreadnoughts. I'm reading 1 ship that's over 2 kilometers long. That would be the new Moscow, Admiral Harrison noted. Heavy assault carrier. Carries a full wing of attack fighters and enough Marines to conquer a small planet. Captain Petrov pushed her engines to dangerous levels getting here. A new transmission came in, this one with a thick accent. Captain Dmitry Petrov reporting for duty, Admiral. The new Moscow and her escort fleet are ready to demonstrate why taking Russian children is a very bad idea. Russian? Zethka asked weakly. Earth nation-state, Colonel Wong explained. Historically known for their excessive responses to threats against their people. Captain Petrov's great-grandfather survived the siege of Stalingrad. That family trait tends to run in families. Through the chaos of arriving ships and mounting weapons signatures, Zethka heard something that made his blood freeze. Children's voices. Looking at his internal monitors, he saw the 3 young humans talking quietly among themselves in their cells. I count about 500 ships out there, Tommy Harrison was saying to his fellow captives. That's actually faster than the war games predicted. War games? Lisa Wong asked. Yeah, my dad runs simulations all the time, Code Amber response scenarios. The goal is to get at least 1,000 ships to any threatened location within 72 hours. They're making good time. Emma Kowalski nodded. My father says the record was 800 ships in 43 hours. That was when the hegemony took those kids from Proxima Station. Zethka rushed back to the containment area. You knew this would happen? Tommy looked up at him with calm eyes. Of course we did. Every human child learns about Code Amber. We know that if anyone tries to hurt us, every human adult in the galaxy will come to help us. That's impossible. Children cannot understand such complex military concepts. We're not just any children, Lisa said proudly. We're human children. Our parents teach us about responsibility, courage, and protection from the time we can walk. We know that freedom isn't free and that protecting the innocent is everyone's job. Besides, Emma added with a smile that somehow terrified Zeth-Ka more than all the warships outside. You made a really big mistake. You didn't just take any kids. You took the children of the three most decorated war heroes in human history. My dad held Titan Station against a Kretic fleet for 6 months. Colonel Wong led the assault that broke the hegemony's main battle line. And Admiral Harrison? He's the man who designed Code Amber in the first place. Zeth-Ka staggered backward. The Admiral designed this? After the Kretic took those first children, Tommy explained. Dad swore it would never happen again. He spent 20 years building the network that's surrounding your ship right now. 600 ships, came Rex 2's increasingly panicked voice over the comm system. Sir, I'm also detecting ground assault transports. They're preparing for boarding actions. Back on the bridge, the wall of human faces had grown to include dozens of commanders. Admiral Harrison's voice rose above the others. Commander Zeth-Ka, you now have approximately 600 human warships surrounding your vessel. This number will continue to grow for the next 48 hours. Every minute you delay releasing our children, your situation becomes exponentially worse. But, Admiral Santos added with something resembling sympathy, we're not unreasonable. Release the children unharmed, and we'll allow you to leave our space alive. You can carry word back to your empire about what happens when humans are threatened. And if I refuse? Then, Admiral Harrison said quietly, you'll discover why humans are considered the galaxy's apex predators. Every one of these ships carries weapons capable of reducing your vessel to its component atoms. But more importantly, they're crewed by humans who will stop at nothing to protect our young. Zeth-Ka looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. He saw fear, confusion, and the growing realization that they had made a catastrophic error. Outside, the human fleet continued to grow, each new arrival adding to the overwhelming display of force. Sir, Yith-Na whispered, I'm intercepting civilian transmissions from across human space. Parents are demanding updates. Commercial traffic has stopped completely as ships divert to join the response fleet. It's like their entire civilization has mobilized. Because it has, Admiral Harrison confirmed, apparently monitoring Vorthon communications as well. That's what Code Amber means, Commander. Total mobilization in defense of our children. Every human in the galaxy is now focused on one single objective, getting those 3 kids back safely. The number on Zeth-Ka's tactical display hit 700 ships and kept climbing. Commander Zeth-Ka stood on his bridge, watching the tactical display in complete horror. 900 human ships now surrounded his vessel, and more continued to arrive every few minutes. The sheer impossible scale of the response had broken something fundamental in his understanding of how civilizations functioned. Sir, Yith-Na called out, her voice barely above a whisper. I'm receiving a transmission from Vorthon High Command. The face of Supreme Admiral Krath-Vo filled the secondary screen, his expression grim. Commander Zeth-Ka, what is your situation? Supreme Admiral, I have successfully captured 3 human juveniles as planned, but you have apparently triggered what human sources are calling the largest military mobilization in galactic history, Krath-Vo interrupted. Our intelligence networks throughout the sector are reporting massive fleet movements. Human ships are converging on your position from across their territory. Sir, I count over 900 vessels. We count over 1,500, the Supreme Admiral cut him off. Commander, our deep space monitors show human fleets moving from as far away as the Sol system itself. Ships that were in the middle of exploration missions have abandoned their routes. Military exercises have been canceled. Even human archaeological expeditions have armed their research vessels and joined this response. Zethka felt his legs buckle. 1,500 ships? That's impossible. The humans appear to disagree with your assessment of possibility, Krathvo replied dryly. Commander, what exactly did you take from these humans? 3 juveniles, sir. Children of colonial leaders. Standard hostage protocols. Children? The Supreme Admiral's face went pale. You took human children? Sir, yes, as per standard Imperial expansion doctrine. Commander Zethka, Krathvo interrupted, his voice now carrying a note of panic. You have committed what may be the single greatest tactical blunder in Vorthon history. Did you not read the classified reports from our intelligence division? Sir, I reviewed all available information on human military capabilities. Not their military capabilities, you fool. Their behavioral patterns, human protective instincts regarding their offspring make them one of the most dangerous species we've ever encountered. There are standing orders never to target human children under any circumstances. Zethka's mandibles clicked in confusion. Sir, I was not informed of any such orders, because those orders were classified above your security level, and because we never imagined any commander would be stupid enough to try such a thing without authorization. Admiral Harrison's voice suddenly filled the bridge again. Supreme Admiral Krathvo, I presume. This is Admiral Marcus Harrison, Human Emergency Response Command. I believe you and I need to talk. The Vorthan Supreme Admiral's face tightened. Admiral Harrison, I was not aware of your involvement in this situation. My son is one of the children your subordinate took, Harrison replied, his voice carrying a deadly calm. That makes me very involved. Supreme Admiral, I'm offering you one opportunity to resolve this without catastrophic consequences for both our species. I am listening, Krathvo said carefully. Order your commander to release our children immediately. In exchange, we'll allow this incident to be resolved diplomatically rather than militarily. And if I comply, your commander and his crew will be allowed to return to Vorthon space unharmed. This incident will be recorded as a diplomatic misunderstanding, not an act of war. And if I don't comply? The main screen split to show dozens of human fleet commanders. Admiral Harrison continued speaking, but now his voice carried the authority of the entire response fleet. Then, Supreme Admiral, you'll learn why taking human children is considered a declaration of war against our entire species. Every human world, every fleet, every colonial defense force is now mobilized. We currently have over 2,000 ships converging on this position, with more arriving hourly. 2,000, Zethka whispered. Sir, Rex 2 confirmed from the tactical station, long-range sensors confirm. Multiple fleets approaching from all directions. I'm reading battleship formations that could level planetary surfaces. Admiral Santos appeared on screen. Supreme Admiral, let me make this simple for you. In human culture, there is no crime more serious than harming children. No response too extreme. No cost too high. If necessary, we will mobilize every human in the galaxy to protect those 3 kids. Captain Kowalski's scarred face filled another part of the display. We've done it before, Supreme Admiral. 7 other species have made the same mistake your commander made. Would you like to know what happened to them? They were defeated, Krathvo said quietly. No, Colonel Wong corrected. They were educated. We don't seek genocide, but we do ensure that threats to human children never happen again. The Kredik Empire? Their entire military structure was dismantled. The hegemony? Their government was restructured under human supervision. The Thrakari? They're now a protectorate, entirely dependent on human protection. We prefer cooperation to conquest, Admiral Harrison added. But we are absolutely inflexible when it comes to protecting our young. Those 3 children represent the future of our species. Every human adult would sacrifice their life to keep them safe. Zethka turned to his Supreme Admiral's image. Sir, what are your orders? Before Krathvo could respond, new alarms began blaring. Yithna looked up from her communication station in shock. "Sir, I'm detecting massive hyperspace signatures. Something enormous is coming through." The tactical display erupted with new contacts, but these were different. Where before the human ships had been numerous but relatively small, these new arrivals dwarfed everything else on screen. "Identify those ships," Admiral Harrison ordered someone off-screen. "Sir, I'm reading the transponder signals now. That's the Terran Federation dreadnought, Terra's Wrath, and the Colonial Defense Force, supercarrier, Righteous Fury. And, sir, that's the Sol System Defense Platform, Earth's Shield." Zeth-Ka stared at the display in disbelief. The newest arrivals weren't just ships. They were mobile space fortresses. The largest measured over 5 kilometers in length and bristled with enough weapons to destroy entire fleets. "How?" he managed to croak. "How did you move something that large across interstellar distances?" "Emergency jump drives," Admiral Harrison explained matter-of-factly. "We've spent decades developing the capability to rapidly deploy our heaviest assets in response to Code Amber situations. Those platforms can reach any point in human space within 96 hours. This is Admiral Chen Wei of the Sol Defense Force aboard Terra's Wrath," a new voice announced. "Admiral Harrison, we received the Code Amber alert and came as fast as our drives could manage. What's the situation?" "3 children taken by Vorthon forces," Harrison replied. "We're currently in negotiations for their release." "Understood." "Terra's Wrath and her battle group are ready to provide whatever support is needed." Zeth-Ka watched his tactical display in complete despair. The human fleet now numbered over 3,000 ships, including fortress-sized vessels that could probably fight entire Vorthon fleets single-handedly. "Supreme Admiral," he whispered to Krathvo's image, "please tell me what I should do." The Vorthon leader was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of defeat. "Commander Zeth-Ka, you will immediately and unconditionally release the human juveniles. You will formally apologize to the human leadership, and then you will return to Vorthon space to face court-martial for unauthorized actions that have brought our empire to the brink of war." "Sir, those are direct orders, Commander. Comply immediately." Zeth-Ka looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. He saw fear, resignation, and the dawning understanding that their empire had just learned a harsh lesson about human nature. "Admiral Harrison," he called out, "I am prepared to release the children." "Excellent decision," Harrison replied. "However, there are conditions for their release." "Name them." "First, you will provide complete medical scans proving they are unharmed. Second, you will allow Admiral Santos to personally verify their condition. Third, you will transfer them to neutral space where they can be recovered by their parents. And fourth, you will carry a message back to your empire." "What message?" Admiral Harrison's image filled the entire main screen. Behind him, Zeth-Ka could see the bridge of what was obviously a massive warship, with crew members working at stations that seemed to stretch beyond the camera's range. "You will tell your empire that humans are no longer the scattered colonists you thought we were. You will tell them that we have become something new in this galaxy, a species that has learned to survive, to thrive, and to protect what we love most. You will tell them that human space is under our protection, and that threats to our children will be met with overwhelming force. You will also tell them," Colonel Wong added, "that we prefer peace to war, cooperation to conquest. But we are prepared for war if it becomes necessary. And finally," Admiral Santos continued, "you will tell them that this response, over 3,000 ships mobilizing to protect 3 children, represents our minimum capability. What you've seen here today is just what we can deploy quickly. Our full military potential is something we hope never to have to demonstrate." 2 hours later, Zeth-Ka watched from his ship's observation deck as a human shuttle departed his vessel, carrying the 3 children back to their families. The medical scans had shown them to be completely unharmed, and Admiral Santos had personally verified their condition before transport. As the shuttle disappeared into the vast human fleet, Zeth-Ka reflected on what had transpired. 3 human children, 3 small beings who couldn't possibly have posed any threat to his ship or crew, had triggered a military response that dwarfed anything in recorded galactic history. "Sir," Yitna called from the bridge, "the humans are standing down their weapons. We're being given safe passage to the edge of the system." "How many ships are out there now?" Zeth-Ka asked wearily. "Final count is 4,738 vessels, sir. Everything from single-pilot fighters to those massive fortress ships." As the Crimson Talon began its long journey back to Vorthon space, Zeth-Ka continued to watch the human fleet on his screens. Ships were already beginning to disperse, returning to whatever duties they had abandoned to respond to the crisis. But the message was unmistakably clear. Humans would go to any lengths necessary to protect their young. "Commander," his tactical officer said quietly, "I've been analyzing the human fleet composition. Sir, those ships came from over 200 different star systems. The coordination required to mount such a response, it shouldn't be possible." "And yet it happened," Zeth-Ka replied, "because we threatened something they value more than their own lives." 3 days later, as Zeth-Ka delivered his report to the Vorthon High Command, he watched the faces of his superiors grow pale with understanding. The human response had been monitored throughout the galaxy, and word was already spreading among other species. "The humans," Supreme Admiral Krathvo concluded after reading the full report, "are no longer a collection of isolated colonies. They've become something far more dangerous, a united species with the will and capability to project force across vast distances in defense of their values." "What are your orders regarding future contact with human space?" Zeth-Ka asked. "New protocols are being established," the Supreme Admiral replied. "Human colonies are to be considered off-limits for any form of aggressive action. Trade relationships will be pursued, but always with respect for human sovereignty. And most importantly, no Vorthon vessel will ever again target human children under any circumstances." 6 months later, the incident at New Eden had become known throughout the galaxy as the Human Fury, a cautionary tale told by every spacefaring species about the dangers of threatening human young. The speed and scale of the human response had shocked military analysts across known space and led to a fundamental reevaluation of human capabilities. For the children who had been taken, Tommy Harrison, Lisa Wong, and Emma Kowalski, the incident became a source of pride rather than trauma. They had witnessed firsthand the power of human unity and the lengths their people would go to protect them. And they had learned that being human meant never being truly alone, no matter how far from Earth they might travel. The galaxy had learned something as well, that humans, despite their youth as a spacefaring species, possessed something that made them uniquely dangerous to those who would threaten them. Not superior technology or overwhelming numbers, but an unbreakable commitment to protecting what they loved most. And in the vast network of human space, new protocols were being refined and improved based on the lessons learned from Code Amber Response 8. Because Admiral Harrison and his fellow commanders knew that somewhere in the galaxy, another hostile species might be foolish enough to test human resolve. When that day came, humanity would be ready.